another exciting session coming up. We will be talking about privacy matters at population scale. We have with us the Director of Financial Services Partnerships at Google Pay. She has made significant contributions to the development and growth of Google Pay services within the Unified Payments Interface (UPI) ecosystem. Her expertise and leadership have played a pivotal role in forging partnerships with various financial institutions, enabling seamless integration of Google Pay with UPI, and has helped enhance the accessibility and convenience of digital payments for millions of people in India and beyond. Please put your hands together for Deeksha Kaushal. She will be joined in a fireside chat with Beni Chugh. Beni manages the research at the Future of Finance initiative at Dvara Systems. Her work focuses on identifying systemic stability and consumer protection concerns in digital finance. Her work focuses, please help me welcome Beni Chugh.
Okay, can I get a sound check? Okay, thank you. Hi, Deeksha, nice to meet you. Welcome, everybody. We have about 10 minutes, and we're kind of trying to recap the full privacy journey that India has had, especially in the last 10 years when personal data finance kind of became the go-to for financial inclusion. And along the conversation, we'll try to understand that how is the industry really gearing up to uphold people's privacy expectations, what are the innovations, and how do we really bring Tier 3 and beyond to digital finance? Or should I frame it the other way? How do we really bring digital finance to Tier 3 and beyond? How do we meet people where they are right now? And I'm so glad that Deeksha and I are having this chat where we only have about 10 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of continue this offline, let the conversation spill over outside of the room as well. Without much ado, I'm Beni Chugh. I head the Future of Finance initiative at Dvara Research. My work focuses on examining customer protection concerns in digital finance. I especially focus on low-income, new to tech, new to UPI, new to internet customers and what digital finance means for them, both in terms of opportunities as well as vulnerabilities. And today's conversation is very interesting because what UPI has done is it has made digital finance at population scale possible. And we're not talking of any population scale, but India population scale, which kind of needs a double underscoring. And in that journey, what has happened is that privacy has come a far way itself. It used to be a fabled right, and we were undecided whether it actually existed, to a very active demand from customers about upholding the kind of privacy of their data, and now a very active obligation that the regulator is imposing on the industry. Dvara Research kind of specializes in primary work, and one of our primary work shows that individuals are not willing to share data as rampantly as we expect them to. So we spoke to about 3,000 individuals in 2020. This is low-income individuals in Madhya Pradesh and in Tamil Nadu. And what we found was about 50% of women respondents did not want to share information about their jewelry with their financial service provider from whom they had taken a loan. About 48% did not want to share information on savings. And when we kind of probed and looked under the numbers, there was a very implicit sense of purpose limitation. Why does my financial service provider need this information? This was the question that people asked us over and over. So clearly, the way people are seeing privacy is it is an ability to control what they share with whom. But you as a practitioner, I'd be very interested to hear what does the industry think of privacy in the context of especially low-income individuals and their digital financial services.
Thanks, Beni, for the question, and thank you to SamvAAd for giving us the opportunity. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I think before I start to answer in terms of what the industry can do, since you mentioned jewelry, I want to share a story on jewelry. Uh, I was going to shop something for my sister-in-law over the weekend. It was a small piece of jewelry in the price range of rupees 10 to rupees 49,000. And I chose something. I went to the billing counter. The executive there said, I'll need your mobile number. And I said, I would not like to give it. It's a private number, and I get a lot of messages on it. Then he said, okay, give me someone else's number. So I said, I'd like to excuse myself from giving someone else's number, because then people will call him saying, is Deeksha there? Then he said, okay, I have a way out for you. Why don't you give me a photocopy of your Aadhaar card? So being a banker for 20 plus years, I was like, this is my cue to maybe say I'll come some other day and I'll see another piece of jewelry. This is a true story. It happened on Linking Road on May 20, 2023. And it happened to someone, who is like one amongst us. If I'm, sure if we were to chat up over chai outside, a lot of us will have stories where we've got spams on messages. We've got calls from people making all sorts of offers who we maybe had not given our numbers to. And therefore, in terms of just the bit on privacy and where all our data is going, I think each one of us has a story. And when I think of myself as a user, I'd like my interaction to have safety in terms of payments and my information to be private. Now let's translate that to individuals who are beyond the top metros. Google Pay serves individuals out of our total base of transactions. About 2/3 comes from outside the top metros. And this issue just quadruples or increases manifold. Let's come to digital public infrastructure now. At 1 billion plus Aadhaar, 1 billion plus mobiles, 700 million plus smartphones, 700 million plus internet connections, ONDC coming up, account aggregator being where it is. We're living in blessed times in terms of the various digital points that make our lives simpler. But each of these digital points is also an area where the individual would want their information to be private and their interaction to be safe. So what can we do as an industry? And I would think it's not just for financial services. It runs beyond, like in my example, a real one, on shopping for jewelry. The first one, in terms of a model that will help, is to put the user in control of their privacy choices and building consent mechanisms. This is something we believe in fundamentally. The second one would be that think of this as a privacy paradigm where we feel that it is not only important to keep data private, but also to keep the transactions safe. The third one would be user education, especially more so because as the internet in India is growing, out of the 750 million odd individuals on digital ecosystem, internet, etc., apparently 200 million are digital novices. So the point that you made in terms of languages, expansion to non-conversant cities for English, etc., we have to think of models which work for the digital novices as well, including different forms of user education. And then the last one I would say is that in India, population scale. So how do we do all of the first three in a way that helps us not only for the scale that we are at today, but hopefully we will grow to as well in the near term and medium term.
Thanks, Deeksha. I think there's a lot of convergence between customer expectations and the trajectory that the industry is taking. Some of us in this room were party to a research, I want to say in 2020, where we kind of experimented with would people prefer a provider that collects fewer data points when sending remittances back home. This is a group of migrant users. Versus a provider that was more generous with data collection. And I think the results kind of spoke for themselves. There was a very clear articulation and a very clear expressed demand for a more privacy protecting provider. And you being in a completely digital transaction world and perhaps in one of the industry leaders in UPI, what are some of the kind of safeguards that you are contemplating to just kind of give life to the first three principles that you just told us about?
So, At Google Pay, we encourage all of our team members to go and meet up with merchants, go and meet up with consumers, and sort of get their life experiences and how do our payments and our products interact with them. I've had the opportunity to travel post-COVID, we all have, and over the last 1 year, had chance to speak to merchants and consumers from Srinagar and Amritsar to Port Blair, Havelock, and Kochi. And something that was common across consumers and merchants in all of like this sort of, if I would call it the length and breadth of the country, was, we use GPay because we trust GPay. And I think we're first of all very humbled and, truly grateful for the trust that fellow Indians place in us. Equally, we work extremely hard every day, every moment, 365 days a year, to keep earning that trust. And how do we do that? The first thing is in terms of, like the principle on privacy and what do we do in terms of, one, make data very easy to understand for our consumers, make it very easy for them to manage their data on the application, and always keeping them in control of their privacy choices. So the way the GPay app is designed and what we keep doing in terms of improvisations, the user is always in the driver's seat for their privacy choices and their data. The second one, which is in terms of how do we think of the privacy paradigm, like I mentioned earlier, we believe that payments is now a transaction layer and equally later financial services will sort of become a transaction layer and therefore infrastructure layers for the digital economy and for the online world. In which case, how do we keep that safe? Few things that we've done. Our application, when you open it, it requires an authentication, a PIN. You require a PIN to pay to a person or to a business. Second, if you're sending money to a user who's not in your contact list, an alert will come that this is okay. Equally, if a user who's not in your contact list requests for money, alert will come, is this okay? This is all intentional friction. And a lot of time as product design builders and marketers, we want everything to be friction-free. But these are areas where we've purposely introduced this so that we can keep our consumers safe. Equally, for example, if you do tap and pay on GPay today, what goes to the merchant is a virtual account number so that the consumer's credit card number stays private. And then I would say in terms of the machine learning models, getting inputs from NPCI in the ecosystem, and acting very swiftly so that we can prevent phishing attacks, we can incorporate it in our security, so that transactions remain safe. The third bit that we constantly do, and of course a big thank you to NPCI and RBI for leading for the country in terms of building awareness and education. We try and do our small bit as well with campaigns like Raho Do Kadam Aage and keeps talking about how can you keep your transactions safe.
Thanks, Deeksha. I know we're out of time. Can I take 2 minutes to wrap this? Thanks. So Deeksha, just on the last question, a lot of kind of our research from the field is showing that there's definitely heightened awareness around frauds, around predatory behavior, but that awareness may not always translate into informed behavior, and that's just how human beings are. We're all told not to eat sugar, but really we all eat sugar, right? So I think there is some merit in kind of trying to say that there's one part that can be left to the customer, and there's another part that the system must take on its own, especially when we're meeting the less savvy. So how do you really bring the less savvy in the fold of digital payments and do so responsibly?
So, I would say when I look at less savvy and I've often had my parents call me to say, are you sure I can use UPI? Because, what if my account, I get a phishing attack? What if the money goes out? What if I don't get my refund? So I think we've all had those experiences. So for us, there are a few factors that we constantly work on. One, how do we make the product simple so that we earn trust? Second, how do we continue adding privacy and safety layers, such as this intentional friction? Third, importantly, how do we break the language barrier, which will be increasingly important as we're serving tier 2, tier 3, I would say even tier 6 cities. So we have, for example, right now 8 vernacular languages. We introduced English. We're looking at text-to-speech. And this is going to be a continuous journey, but these are some of the elements that we're working on.
Thanks, Deeksha, and thanks to the providers. I don the customer protection hat today, and I just have one parting request that as we get more and more people in the fold of digital finance, let's try meeting them where they are. In our experience, a misadventure in digital financial services has a disproportionate effect on customer confidence, kind of pushing them all the way back to cash transactions. So if we're all kind of more intentional about this journey and really keep in step with not what is possible with the tech, but what is digestible for the customer, perhaps we'll get to a more sustainable place. But what do I know? I'm just a customer protection advocate.
Thank you so much, Deeksha and Beni, for this fantastic session, eye-opening. Loved your, it was a use case example too. So we have Vamsi who's going to felicitate both of you.
Does work? Works? Yeah. Almost sounds poor design to have just given 10 minutes for such a fascinating conversation. My apologies. We tried to pack perhaps a little too much, but hopefully this is a good teaser for a lot more conversations. It was lovely to hear your thoughts. Great to have you as partners. Small token of appreciation, please. Thank you. Thank you, Deeksha. Wonderful. Thank you.